We're really moving past the point of AI just being a chatbot that can answer a single question. The real prize, the thing we're all trying to build, is a long-running AI agent that can do actual knowledge work. Digging through data sets, writing code, updating files. So the big question is, how do we actually get there? Well, let's dive in.
Look, we all know AI is absolutely fantastic for those quick, one-off tasks. Ask a question, get an answer. Simple. But there's this huge chasm between that and performing a complex, multi-step job. And honestly, that's the central challenge for anyone trying to build a truly useful AI agent today.
So before we can talk about the solutions, we have to get real about the problem. Right now, when developers try to build these sophisticated agents, they pretty much run into some very predictable and very frustrating walls.
What's really fascinating is how all these problems are connected. It all starts with what developers are calling prompt spaghetti, these giant, fragile system prompts that are just impossible to manage. Then, inevitably, the agent hits its memory ceiling and completely forgets what it was doing. And to top it off, it doesn't even have a real place to do anything. It can't install software or even save a file. So what's the result? Totally unreliable performance on any job that's more than just a simple query.
Let's just double-click on that memory problem for a second. Seriously, what actually happens when an agent is, say, halfway through some complex data analysis and its memory just gives out? The whole thing can just completely fall apart. All that progress, gone. The technical term for this problem is the context window limit. Just think of it like the AI's short-term memory. It can only juggle so much information at once. For any kind of long-running work, this has been a massive, fundamental barrier that forces developers into all sorts of clunky workarounds.
But what if we could just give agents better tools? That's exactly what we're going to explore now. A brand new toolkit designed to solve these exact problems. So let's meet our 3 new tools: Skills, Shell, and Compaction.
Okay, first up, skills. The idea here is simple but powerful. Instead of trying to cram every possible instruction into one giant, messy prompt, a skill is like a self-contained, reusable procedure that the model can just load up whenever it's needed. And this quote really nails it. It's a versioned playbook. That's the key. It's not just some one-off instruction. You can update it, you can depend on it, you can treat it like a stable piece of your system. And for reliability, that is an absolute game changer.
Next up, we've got the shell. This thing is the solution to that whole execution problem. It's a real, live hosted terminal where the agent isn't just thinking about what to do, it's actually doing it. It can install libraries, run code, and create actual files. It's basically the agent's own personal workshop.
And finally, we have compaction. This is the direct answer to that context window problem we were just talking about. It's essentially an automatic memory manager. It intelligently compresses the conversation history so the agent can keep chugging along on a really long task without ever forgetting what it was supposed to be doing. So let's just quickly put it all together. You've got skills, which are the reusable playbooks that get rid of prompt spaghetti. You've got the shell, the personal workshop that gives the agent a place to actually execute commands. And you've got compaction, the memory manager that makes sure it never hits that context window limit. Together, these 3 things form a seriously powerful toolkit for building agents that can do real work.
All right, so knowing what the tools are is one thing, but using them effectively, that's a whole different ballgame. So now, let's get into the Pro Playbook. Some really smart, maybe even non-obvious tips for getting the absolute best results.
So, a huge part of this is how you describe your skills. A vague description like analyzes sales data, well, that's just not going to cut it. The model needs what you might call routing logic. A much better description tells it exactly when to use the skill, when not to use it, and precisely what the output should look like. That kind of clarity is absolutely key to getting the agent to pick the right tool for the job. And here is a fantastic, kind of counterintuitive tip. Sometimes just making a bunch of skills available can actually make the agent worse at using them correctly at first. But there's a really powerful fix. Add negative examples. You literally tell the model, hey, do not use this skill in this situation. Glean, one of the early customers, saw this work firsthand. It helps the model draw much cleaner lines about when to do what.
Okay, we absolutely have to talk about security. This is one of those tips that's super easy to ignore now and incredibly painful to fix later. Giving an agent powerful skills plus open access to the internet, that is a recipe for disaster. It's a high-risk path for data exfiltration. You have to design for containment right from the start, with things like strict network allowlists.
Okay, so we've got the tools and we've got the pro tips. Now let's see how this all comes together in the real world. We're going to look at 3 powerful patterns for building with this new toolkit.
So the most foundational pattern is install, fetch, write. It's simple. The agent uses the shell to install whatever libraries it needs, then it goes out and fetches data from somewhere, and finally, it writes a concrete artifact, like a markdown report or a clean dataset. The point is, you get a tangible output you can actually use.
Pattern B adds this awesome layer of reliability. So instead of just winging it with ad hoc steps, you encode the entire workflow into a skill. By having the agent just execute this predefined playbook, you get a process that's way more deterministic and repeatable. It's perfect for things like generating standardized reports every week.
The third pattern, pattern C, is where things get really powerful. This is about using skills to orchestrate complex multi-tool enterprise workflows. For example, you could have a skill that guides an agent through a super sophisticated analysis of Salesforce data, a task that would have been incredibly brittle and prone to failure without this kind of structure.
And this isn't just some theory. The impact is real and it's measurable. Using one of these Salesforce-oriented skills, Glean saw their evaluation accuracy jump from 73% all the way up to 85%. That's a 12-point increase. That's huge.
But it's not just about being more accurate, it's also about being faster. They also measured an 18.1% reduction in the time to first token. So the agent starts producing its response significantly faster, all because the instructions are neatly packaged in a skill, instead of some bloated, slow system prompt.
All right, so let's just zoom out for a second and look at the big picture. What we're talking about here isn't just a few new tools. It's about laying a completely new foundation for what AI agents can actually go out and accomplish.
So the key takeaway is really this. You use skills to encode the how, the procedures, the templates. You use the shell to execute the do, the actual installing, running, and writing. And you use compaction to maintain that continuity over long tasks. These are the fundamental building blocks for that next generation of reliable, long-horizon AI agents.
And that really just leaves us with one final and pretty exciting question. For the first time, we have a clear framework for building agents that can reliably follow procedures and do real work inside a computer. The technical barriers are finally starting to fall. So the only question left is, what truly complex and valuable jobs are we going to build them to do next?